your ID?
Yes.
Great, let's do a practice speaking test, and our topic today will be magazines and the news. Let's begin with part 1. First of all, do you often read newspapers?
Yes, I read newspapers every day. I enjoy reading them on my phone or maybe my laptop. Yes, because they are really convenient and the news is updated every day. Some people still like reading hard copies, but they are made from cutting trees. So as an environmentalist, I really don't prefer that.
Do many people today read newspapers?
Yes, I think the majority of older generations still read newspapers because they still prefer touching the newspapers, the papers, and they also don't like, or they are not used to using gadgets. And on the other hand, teenagers or young generation like me like using phones and laptops and tablets to read newspapers because it's really convenient and fast.
Now for part 2, I'll ask you to discuss the topic for 2 minutes. And today I'd like you to describe a piece of good news you heard from TV or on the internet. And I'll give you 1 minute to prepare. Okay, time's up, so you'll have 2 minutes, and would you start speaking now, please?
Yes, okay. So as you know, negative news seems to take front and center nowadays. So I was really delighted to come across this positive news article. It was when I was looking up for some highlights from 2018 online, and I stumbled across some information that was so surprising. Apparently, France is the leader for curbing food waste. Yeah, and they have banned supermarkets from throwing leftover food that is still usable or edible. And also, laws have been made for restaurants to donate food waste. Yeah, and if they don't comply to this law, they will face with a fine for up to nearly 100,000 euros, yes, or maybe 2 years in prison. Yeah, and some people are still skeptical. You know, they don't really believe that people would follow these rules, but actually there are changes already, and it seems that this change would probably solve world hunger. Yes, I really hope so, because this is a colossal problem now, and I hope that many countries would follow in France's footsteps.
And now we'll go on to part 3. First, I'd like to ask you, do you believe everything you read in newspapers?
Honestly, no, because I always try to look for information or articles that come from reliable sources. For example, mainstream newspapers that has authority or authenticity. Because the process of gathering information nowadays is sometimes done hastily and irresponsibly. Yeah, so that's why we need to carefully verify news and information, because you never know. We never know when lies are hidden.
Do you think people use the internet to read news online?
Yes, of course. Nowadays, people really enjoy using the internet, not only for reading news, but for other purposes. With the development of technology, we have many gadgets like phones, laptops, and tablets, so it's really easy for us to find new information, and I think that this trend will develop very strongly in the future.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our practice session today.
Thank you.
Thanks. She shared a lot of nice information in her response, and she organized her thoughts well using phrases like "on the other hand," which made her ideas clearly presented. I would say that at times the pace was a bit slow with some pauses and ums while she gathered her ideas, so that would be something to continue practicing. But overall, a nice range of vocabulary used. She talked about curbing food waste, come across, a colossal problem. Just a few notes. To when we use comply, we would say comply with this law instead of comply to this law. We would say be front and center nowadays would be more common than take front and center nowadays. Her grammar was pretty much error-free throughout. A few things were noted. So when talking about older generation and young generation, just remember to include that article the before. So the majority of the older generation or the young generation. And there was maybe one minor thing, a law that requires, putting that S at the end there. Pronunciation was very clear. I like how she used intonation when she said on my phone or my laptop in those list series to indicate the meaning of the list there. And one thing I might note is if you could use the kind of shortened structures, for example, instead of they have banned, they've banned, and laws have, it just makes it sound even a little more natural, but that's kind of a minor suggestion. Overall, good use of the language, and keep it up.